This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Good evening, and tonight I'll be talking about making the school library the beating heart of the school and why it's so important. So if you've got a choice there, come in, give me a call or a chat. Any advice, welcome. Tonight, Teachers Talk Radio.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello and good evening on a Friday night, and a very lovely Friday night it is too. There's not a cloud in the sky where we are in Leicester, and welcome back to the Friday Night Late Show with Sean Mackay on Teachers Talk Radio. So as I said, tonight we're going to be talking about the school library, or kind of my school library, and what I'm going to be doing with it, or my hopes for it, and why I've kind of got this hope around the school library, but also to try to kind of make my case that the school library should be the beating heart of every single school. And hopefully you'll kind of enjoy it, and you'll kind of listen and kind of gain some advice as well. And hopefully if anyone wants to call in or anyone wants to send me some advice, that would be absolutely great. So I'll start off the show the same as I always do with the book that I'm reading at the moment, and whether or not I would put it into my school library. The books I'm in, it's a trilogy I'm reading at the minute called Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb, and it's a trilogy of books. Would I put it in the school library? Absolutely. I mean, it would be up up in the kind of higher echelons of maybe year 11, possibly year 12 or 13. It has some quite violent themes in it, but it's still a very good book. Certainly it's fantasy, as Robin Hobb is, a great fantasy person, and I love fantasy myself. And I think most children's books are actually kind of roped in around fantasy as well. But yes, I definitely put all of them in. I haven't read all of them yet. I'm on the second book, nearly finished the second book. But hopefully in 2 weeks, I'll have finished all three, and then I'll be moving on to something else. So let's start then with my library and why I want to change it. So my belief as a kind of literacy coordinator at Weaston Academy, and someone that is passionate about reading, about writing, about and how they can open up the life chances of students. Our library currently at the moment is a nice place, but it kind of isn't fit for purpose at the moment. And what I'm at the minute trying to do is I've got a kind of a project on. It's one of those things that you love to do, and you see all of the great things that you could possibly do with a library. And hopefully that is something that, some of you might be able to kind of empathize with, can think about yourselves. So at the moment, let me describe what my library looks like at the minute. It looks smaller than it is at the moment. We have kind of these beechwood shelves all the way along the entire library. Some of them at points kind of stick out in these big blocks where books can go, and then you've got other bits that kind of go back in again. You've got, and these go all the way around the wall, and then at the back, near the back of our library, we have kind of padded seating on the left corner and the right corner, with all of the non-fiction books kind of round the back. Above that, we have a stained glass window, which was absolutely beautiful, and it is absolutely beautiful. But I'll come to the reasons why that possibly isn't so great for the library that we've got at the minute, and what I want to do in order to change that. And then we have, as you walk in on the right hand side, we have the kind of the librarian's desk, which is absolutely huge. And then we have we've got like two tables on the bottom right hand side, and near to the top left we have another table. So we only have like 3 tables in there, and then we have kind of 2 seats at the back left and the back right, which are padded seats, and at the back of them you can put books at the back of them, and then you have another shelf of books just in front of that, which is kind of like a computer desk. So that's kind of what the library looks like, and hopefully you can kind of gather that it's quite cluttered in there, because we have those 2 kind of seating areas with books at the back of, and then the other one that's in front where the computers are. It blocks you from seeing anyone, and one of the things one of the reasons why I think the teachers that I've talked to have said they don't use it is because they can't seat enough people in there, so there aren't enough seats or tables. You can't see anyone at the back, because the seating areas with the shelves at the back of them and the computer area kind of block you from seeing anyone. And generally the students that are going to kind of not read or not do as they're told, the ones that are going to misbehave, the ones that are going to chat instead of working in the library, generally tend to congregate around that area. And that's one of the things that I wanted to change. I wanted to kind of get rid of. So currently then, the 2 computers that we've got in that computer area, I think a library needs computers. It's much cheaper than buying a lot of non-fiction books, and you can certainly use it for research. You can search the internet entirely. So it kind of, as much as I love books and I advocate for books, non-fiction books go out of date very, very quickly. And generally, especially with the speed at which everything is changing in the world at the moment, and how rapidly we're moving, especially with AI coming up. So currently, we only have 2 computers in the library, and they were computers that were installed, I think, if I remember correctly, because I looked on the back of the computer today, they were installed in 1998. So they're fairly ancient computers. In fact, they are probably the kind of computer equivalent of Ozymandias, this kind of great statue that's collapsed in the middle of an ancient land. And these 2 computers kind of take about 15 minutes to log on. And considering that our school has a 35-minute lunchtime, if you have students of which you can only stick 2 on the computers, but if they come onto the computers, most of their lunchtime is going to be spent waiting for those computers to log on. And obviously that is going to stop people wanting to come in. Not only the fact that there's only 2, but also the fact that they take an absolute age to go on. So that's one of the big kind of issues that we have at the moment with the library, is that there's not enough stuff in there to make students want to come and see it, to do kind of any research. There's not enough computers in there to take a class into, or to send a small group of children into. And so therefore the library is in the dark ages in terms of technology. We do have a bunch of Kindles, which we bought about 10 years ago, but the batteries don't work. So our IT guy is kind of working on that, but I think he says that they're on their last legs, so they're going to be going as well. And as I pointed out before, in terms of the computers, most of our non-fiction texts are out of date. I mean, obviously, with non-fiction texts, you're always going to have to change them. There are some non-fiction texts which will absolutely always be kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the non-fiction texts are always going to have some texts which you are able to see no matter what, no matter how old they are. You can pick a book up on ancient Egypt and you can still gain an awful lot from it. You won't need to change it. But if you're looking at non-fiction books on technology, they are going to go out of date very rapidly. And those are the ones that ours haven't been replaced. I mean, quite a number of our non-fiction texts, especially those ones that go out of date rapidly, are about 15 or 16 years old. We haven't replaced them quickly enough. And so we want to obviously make sure that the computers are actually in there. And then obviously the desk that stands for those computers kind of block the view of children, allowing them to kind of do things out of the teacher's eye, and you can't see them. You need to be able to see students all the time to make sure that they're behaving. And it is, and hopefully those will change. I know what I'm putting in for that. There's one thing that I wanted to change. I want people to actually kind of to have the computers to make sure that they're in there. But I'll come to what we're going to do in a minute. So the librarian's desk is also too large. And also, if you go in there, the computer, the desk underneath the desk is being used for kind of storing first aid materials. So it kind of takes away space for the students to kind of sit down. It hinders whoever's in charge of the library to kind of use that as a storage place for books and for other things like that. And it's also really quite difficult to get to the librarian's computer, which isn't great. But also the librarian's computer is ancient as well. It is also the same. I think it's older than the other two computers. So that one's not working at the minute. The librarian's computer. I do know that one's actually being changed. Whether I get the go ahead to do all of the things I want to do or not. But certainly, you need that technology. Kids are in tune with technology, so we need it, especially if you want to log the books out. And in terms of computers and technology, the software that we use isn't fit for purpose. So you can't scan books in or out. So at the moment, the children have to write the name of the book, and they have to kind of take the book out, write the ISBN number, put down what their name is, put down the date that it's supposed to come in and supposed to come out. So this is all handwritten because at the minute the computer's broken and the software isn't working in terms of that. And so we have lost over the past 3 or 4 years, we've lost thousands of pounds worth of books because we have no idea whether those books have come back in or not, because obviously the software isn't kind of working that well. And the other aspect of it that isn't great for us at the moment is the fact that you can there's only 1, 2, 3 tables, one of the back 4 tables. So there are 4 tables in the library at the moment, with a total capacity of 14 people, I think, which means the library can, added with the seats that go at the back, the ones that are padded, that mean you can't see the kids, it means you've got a total capacity of about 22 people, 9 of whom are kind of hidden in a corner and can't be directly supervised without help. And this is kind of this is where we're coming from, and also because of that, because there's only 22 spaces for people, and there are places where people can hide away and not do the work and not be supervised. There's very little incentive for departments or kind of people to go to the library, because the library isn't kind of fit for purpose at the minute. There aren't enough tables for any department to bring classes in, and especially to work on. And then kind of lastly, the displays, which were put up the last time we had a librarian, which was about 10 years ago, still look brilliant because she was an absolutely amazing librarian, but they're dated now. And that's the other thing that I want to look at doing. And that is kind of where I'm coming from as a literacy coordinator, seeing this library, this space, which isn't being utilised in the proper way and isn't being used properly. We have started to get children into there. We've had library lessons now, which we've introduced this year, but also the library gets booked out for meetings, it gets booked out for careers events, it gets booked out for lots of different things. So it isn't actually used for the use that it should be used for. And that's a lot of the word use in one sentence. So it's, I want to get those things out. I want to put the focus of the library to be the students and what the students need, and the library and the books, and this kind of center for knowledge, this center for fiction and non-fiction, this place where people can sit and come together and enjoy those books, because that, I think, is what makes a library the center of a school.
Imagine having your own instructional coach available 24/7. Now you can with the Teaching How-Tos platform. This highly personalised social platform empowers busy teachers to learn and apply evidence-based teaching techniques, either independently, working collaboratively with their peers, or with our new AI assistant. The platform features over 160 visual guides to teaching techniques, designed to help you quickly and easily implement high-impact practices that boost student engagement and improve learning outcomes. Join over 200 institutions worldwide that are elevating their teaching practices with the How-To app. No gurus, just practical support anytime you need it. Interested in finding out more? Visit teachinghowtos.com and register for our next webinar.
Empowering education with Easy4U, where innovation meets accessibility. Our subscription-based offering not only equips schools with cutting-edge devices, but revolutionizes the learning experience by eliminating financial barriers, streamlining support, and embracing technology. We're not just providing tools, we're shaping a future where every student can thrive, unburdened by limitations. Easy4U, transforming education, one device at a time. Find out more at www.easy4u.school.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading. Hi teachers, we're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculum. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps for good. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org.
And welcome back. So tonight we're talking about the school library, making it the heart of the school. Now, I've just been telling people why I need to change the library. And this might kind of resonate with some of you out there. You might have similar things going on. Your computers might be kind of not fit for purpose, or things aren't working, or the displays aren't good enough, or you can't see people because they're hidden away in different corners. So hopefully the rest of this will be able to show you what I'm trying to do with my particular library, and hopefully that will help you. But obviously, if you've got any ideas and you want to let me know, then please either text in, or please just call the show, and hopefully we can talk. So where do I go then? So at the minute, we have all of those wooden shelves going around. We have the stained glass window. We have the seats which are blocking the views, and the computer. We have a very big kind of librarian's table. The computers aren't working. So where do I go? What's my vision, so to speak? So we have, as I said, on the back, there is a row of shelves. And those shelves all have non-fiction books on them. Now, the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get rid of all of those books on the back, find the ones that we can keep and put them on different shelves. But all of those shelves are literally brilliantly placed for computers. And so there are 7 distinct kind of shelving units at the back. And so when I looked at that, and I spoke with the person that's in charge of the library, as I said, we don't have a librarian at the moment. So the person that's in charge of the library and first aid and lots of other things as well, and we looked at where we could put them. That was the easiest place, because literally all you would have to do is take out one of the shelves, lower the bottom kind of footfall, which where the other books were on at the bottom of the shelf, take them away, and we've got 7 really good spaces where you can link up computers, have some really high powered fast computers that kids are going to be able to log on straight away. And therefore we've got like those 7 computers which are going to make footfall within the library much greater. And obviously one of the things that you want more than anything else is people to use the library. And if you have computers available, then children are going to come in. Fair enough. They're only going to want to look at the computer to start off with. But if people come in to see whether or not those computers are being used, then they may start looking at the books. They may sit and read their own book. They may start doing some homework when they're in there. It gets people in. And that's the first thing we want. We need to get people in. And so those 7 computers, I thought were a great idea. The ones that we want are kind of really high-tech ones. And the great thing is that our school at the moment is updating all of its computer systems. So our IT guy, basically, because he was ordering lots of computers, could just add those computers on to the order, and it would reduce the price greatly. So one of the things that I would advise if you are trying to get some computers is talk to IT. See what they're doing. Are they ordering computers in already? Are they going to have a big order? Is there a specific place where they orders the computers from? Are they going to have some kind of deal with someone that we can get? But talk to them, because if you can get IT on your side, if you can get them working with you as well, then you can convince kind of your line manager, your senior leaders, that this is a great thing, that it's not going to cost as much as they are, and the impact it's going to have is great. And so therefore, having those computers, talk to the IT team, talk to your to the people that come to the library, talk to the stakeholders, the kids, talk to the staff, and try to get a positive vibe, something that you can get together and say, all of these people have said that having computers are going to make a great impact in the library because of this, this, and this, and have those reasons. And that's what I did. I made sure that I talked to lots of different people before I went into it. The other thing meant that I needed more tables. So the computer desk, where all of the computers were, because I've stuck all of those computers, or I want to stick all the computers, all the way at the back. That computer desk with the 2 ancient kind of 1998 computers doesn't actually need to be there anymore. So that can be got rid of. And that opens up the space for more tables, flat tables, ones that you can see the kids working at. And if we don't need those, and then we don't need the 2 at the side. And so therefore my idea was then to get rid of those completely. We're getting rid of quite a lot of non-fiction texts. We're updating the ones that we've got, so we've got a nice section so that we can see where they are. People can see that they're new books. They can kind of look at them as they come in. Maybe when they're looking at the computers or sitting at the computers, they can be there and they can notice these kind of really shiny new books. And therefore we needed tables, because we've got rid of those seating areas. And so the next thing was then, so instead of having the kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 tables that we've got, I wanted 4 tables just at the bottom of the library alone, for enough for 8 people to sit on. And then right next to that, have another couple of tables with enough seating for 6 people. Keep the 4-seater table that's already there, but where the computers used to be, have another kind of 3 tables that are enable you to seat 6 people. And that way, what we have is quite a large number of tables, which would seat a large number of people, about 24. And with the 7, it kind of makes 31. So you've got the 7 computers plus the 24, which means you've got a space that a teacher can take their class into, that they can look to make sure that their kids are doing the work. They can bring the books, and they've got enough space to kind of open those books out. And the one thing that I absolutely loved when I was a kid going to the library was opening these huge tomes and having them on the desk and reading them, and the encyclopedias and kind of the huge books on aircraft and the books on football and the books on building, because correct me if I'm wrong, most non-fiction books are quite big and bulky books. They're bought as a kind of hardback. And so we need the space for those. And that's kind of what we've incorporated into it as well. So we needed those tables. We need more workspace for departments. We needed to make people aware that the space is now there for you to use, to come in, to do a research work, to do project-based work, to do any kind of stuff which will mean using books, using the computers. But we didn't want to put not as many computers in that it becomes an ICT suite. We didn't want that. It needed to stay a library. The next thing then was redecorating. Now, obviously, redecorating takes time. So you need to find the right posters. You need to find the right colours for the library. You need to make sure that it's a much more aesthetic and more modern looking library, because ours at the moment looks dated. And so therefore, if we can make it look more modern, maybe a kind of greys are in at the moment, maybe some kind of white at the top, some grey at the bottom, make some colourful pillars so that we've got some colour points in there. But just to make it much more up to date, much more kind of calm, much more relaxing atmosphere, something that is conducive to work. Now, obviously, at the moment, we're still in consultation about what kind of colours we might be able to use and whether or not this whole project's going ahead. But kind of I am arguing hard for it. And also, if you've got this calm and relaxing atmosphere where the walls are decorated really nicely, where it's a really aesthetic place, then students will want to come and they'll want to stay, and they'll want to use it after school. They want to use it before school. They'll want to use it at lunchtime, because it becomes a sociable place where people feel safe. People feel that they can be quiet. People feel they can read. Open it up sometimes maybe for kind of after school clubs, like a reading club, or just somewhere to get the kids in and looking at the books. So the more table then will just increase usage by departments, and then all students can be seen within the library. So therefore safeguarding issues are kind of won't arise, or hopefully won't arise, because we never know when safeguarding issues are going to come up. It stops kids talking, it stops them misbehaving, helps the teacher maintain control of the school, which is always a good thing, I suppose, because that's what we need. And at the minute, it's not conducive to that. And I think that is something that we definitely, absolutely need in our library. And so once we've done that, then we needed to begin with, because our school has lunch times for years 7 and 8 and a different lunchtime for years 9 and 10. And so therefore, the children need monitoring. As I said, our current person that's in charge of the library is also the first aider, and she also works with the nurses, school nurses, and she also works with the school counsellor. So she's wanted by a lot of people. She's a very popular person, and so therefore my next point, the next thing that I was going to get was to go and talk to the SEND coordinator, the SENCO, but also his assistant, to try to get LSAs or teaching assistants that work during their lunch times to come and supervise the 7 and 8 lunch and also the 9 and 10 lunches, so that students can use it. Now, I'm hoping that this isn't going to be a hard job. This isn't going to be something. So the kids have been in our school not using the library as well as they could be, but they are, and that's only because we needed a little bit more supervision. Now we've got that, and that is actually working incredibly well. The students are behaving themselves, they're much calmer, lots of them are sitting and working, but we still don't have enough. We don't have enough teachers in there to be able to kind of man it fully. And so therefore we also needed to make sure that the students were, what's the word, the expectations, they knew the expectations. And so my next stage, and this has already been done, so some of these have been done, some of these are kind of on the burner, and that's the things that I'm going to do. One of the things that I've done is I came up with the library expectations. And this is on a quite a large piece of paper, which has gone up in every single tutor room. And it's also sits there proud outside of the library before you walk in. And basically, they just tell you what the expectations are of the library. Most kids probably went to a library when they were younger, but probably don't remember what the rules of the library are, so we just make them clear. And it stood very proud outside of the library, and I think one of the last things that it says is that by entering the library you agree to abide by these rules. And that's a great little line which you can use. I mean, obviously you're going to have your own sets of rules, but I would say definitely have a set of rules. Make sure the children know about them. Go into assemblies, tell them about what they are, why they're there. Try to make the language positive. It's what I've tried to do. I've tried to make the language as positive as possible. You must do this, try to do this, make sure that this is happening. Because I want students to come to the library. I don't want to put them off. So I've tried to keep it as kind of robust as possible. But at the end, especially for everyone, is that once you walk in that library, you agree to these rules, and it's there for everyone to see. No one has any kind of argument saying I didn't know, because the library one is the post outside the library is so big that you can't miss it, which is great. So if you were going to do it, make sure you have those rules. Make sure you have the students know exactly what the rules are, so that they are again in that safe environment, because that's what you want it to be. You want it to be a calm and safe environment, ready for reading, ready for kind of doing homework, doing your project-based learning, and hopefully that will help. Also, I've given LSAs training on what to do in the library at lunchtimes, because we have these rules and regulations and expectations. LSA will need to know how to kind of enforce those, and what to do, and how to kind of work with them, how to talk to children, how to make sure. And I think LSAs are best for that, because they generally tend to be in and around one-to-one students anyway, and students that find it either hard to learn, or they have additional needs which requires some really excellent kind of manipulative abilities on behalf of the LSA to try to get that student to work, or to try to help them to understand what's actually required of them. And so I'm utilizing this by training them about using that same stuff in order to get students to continue to work by the library rules, and to make sure that they stand at the door to begin with, to make sure that no student is coming with food, because that's one of the biggest ones that we had, and we've got rid of all of that now. It's great. There's no more food in there. We don't have any more rubbish, because literally they just stand at the door, and anyone that comes to the door of the library at the beginning of lunch gets turned away. You can come back, we say to them, once you've eaten your food, but you are not coming in with food. So the other thing that we had to do then is the software system for the library, which, as I said earlier, is broken. It's kind of not fit for purpose. This is a definite thing that's going to change. So I've already been to my senior leader, the CEO of the trust actually, and said, put my case forward, the fact that the system isn't working. We're losing money. We are not having enough. And I talked through all of the reasons why we needed an updated library software system. So the next thing I would say to you is make sure that if you are going to ask for something from your senior leadership team, because from what I found, your senior leadership team are going to be if they want the best for the school and the best for the students, they will be very open to any suggestions that you might want to make in terms of the things that you want to do, as long as you have an understanding of what the impact is going to be. You need to make sure that it's impactful. Have your arguments, have your reasons. And I did. I had lots and lots of reasons. And he agreed to it, that we could have the software. And I'll talk about the software and the stuff that we're going to do. I'm not going to name the software that we've got, nor any of the ones that we looked at. I'm just going to give you a generic, this is why we chose the one that we chose. This is why we didn't choose the other ones. So you can always look around for yourselves. That's what we did. Do your research, find what's best for you. What we did was we talked to other schools. We phoned up some local schools. We phoned up Bosworth and Countersthorpe, and these are local Leicestershire schools, and South Wigston, and we phoned up Manor, and we phoned up a lot of different schools to find out which ones that they have and try to come up with. And generally, there were 3 that people kind of were talked about. So we had a look, and the new software system, and he said, that's fine. Give me 3 quotes, find out what they're like, tell me which one you want, but make sure you tell me why you are having it, what the impact is going to be. So that was what I had to do. I had to make sure that the software system that I was robust. They came in, they presented to us, and we sat and we listened to what they're doing. We looked on the YouTube channel, we looked on their website. I didn't go to a school. My the lovely Barbara Hooton, who is my one, talked to the other librarians, and they went through the systems that they had that we were looking at and told us what was great about them, and that helped us to figure out which one we were going to do. And also, because we were having new software, it would also, the 3 that we had to auto-generate, or at least keep track of the students who hadn't returned their books. Because one of the biggest things that we're doing is that we're losing money time and time again. And we didn't want that. And so therefore, we wanted to make sure that it's going to, if anything that comes up late, it's going to kind of come up with an auto-generative this person's late, or an auto-generative letter that we can send out to parents and say, if your child doesn't return the book, then we're going to have to kind of charge you for this book. So please, can you get it in? And that was one of the most time consuming, because we had to do a lot of research into a lot of library softwares, and there are a lot out there. And even the one that we were going to get to start off with, we thought was good. After researching it, we decided not to. And that's the great thing about research, is that it allows you time and it allows you space to be able to see what will work best for your context.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
Teachers and GPs are staggering under extra demands caused by poverty, according to a report in The Guardian. Desperate families, unable to afford food, clothing or heating, are increasingly turning to education and health services for help. New research has shown what, for many, has long been understood through anecdotal evidence, namely that teachers and GPs are acting as welfare advisors, housing officers and social workers alongside the day job. The study by the Joseph Rowntree Foundation also found that some teachers and GPs were providing toys and books, as well as basic essentials such as food and clothing for children. Poverty campaigners have warned that the situation is now urgent. The study found that a third of schools and almost half of GP surgeries had set up a food bank. 44% of pupils were estimated to have come to school hungry, and health and education staff were dipping into their own pockets to help the others. Education staff said resources were being devoted to firefighting poverty and issues linked to it, but that meant less time and energy being spent on teaching. The report features a case study on a school in Manchester, and full details can be found on the Guardian website. The BBC News website has focused again on funding for special educational needs, with councils in England forecasting a massive shortfall in budgets. The BBC has found councils face a deficit of almost £1 billion, with signs that the gap between funding and spending is continuing to increase. Parent groups have focused on the difficulty in obtaining an education, health and care plan. They believe that without one, it's much harder to get specific support. Almost 600,000 children and young people now have an EHCP in England, and last year saw a 26% year-on-year increase. The growing demand is something councils are struggling to meet, and campaign groups expressed concern that some now have very little focus on children's needs because they're worried about the financial bottom line. The NAHT union has called for any new government to write off councils' accumulated deficits in SEND, but none of the mainstream parties address funding of SEND directly in their manifestos. The Conservatives have promised 15 more special schools. Labour promised to increase early interventions and mainstream support. The Lib Dems said they would establish a national body for SEND funding to be managed. And the Greens say they would push for £5 billion of investment for mainstream schools. Full details, along with a series of linked stories, can be found on the BBC website. Schools Week have focused on Labour's manifesto promise to scrap single-word Ofsted judgments and replace the current system with a report card telling parents clearly how schools are performing. There have been very few details, however, of what this could actually look like. The Schools Week report considers a wide range of options for the scorecard, having asked a range of stakeholders for their views on what information it could or should contain. Labour has promised to consult the sector on its plans. It's likely that changes would require a new inspection framework and some changes to current legislation, which would delay plans changes for around a year. Full details of the discussion can be found on the Schools Week website. In Louisiana, USA, every public school classroom has been ordered to display a poster of the Ten Commandments, according to a report on the BBC News website. It is the first measure of its kind in the US and applies to all classrooms in the state up to university level. Opponents to the move say the law breaks America's separation of church and state, protected by the First Amendment to the US Constitution. In 1980, the US Supreme Court struck down a Kentucky law, similar to the Louisiana law, which required the Ten Commandments to be displayed in elementary and high schools. Finally, the BBC also reports on calls by the National Secular Society for a school in Wales to be investigated after it allegedly promoted creationism. The NSS is calling for a ban on teaching creationism as it undermines teaching about evidence-based theories such as evolution. The teaching of creationism as a scientific theory is banned in England, but the promotion of it is not prohibited in Wales. A Welsh Government spokesperson said, "Community schools are not permitted to have a religious leaning, and we are in discussions with the relevant local authority." Full details of this story can be found in the education section of the BBC News website. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
And welcome back to Teachers Talk Radio on this Friday evening. I'm Sean Mackay, your host, and we're talking tonight about making the school library the heart of the school. So where were we? Yes, we talked about all the things that we needed to do in terms of putting computers in, because computers are going to increase footfall. We talked about making sure that we have LSAs, that we have the rules of the library up, that you have tables so that you can see the students that are actually doing it. They can put those big kind of books out there and they can kind of feel like they're doing some kind of research. And so therefore also, because obviously the library is sometimes used as a social place where you can talk about books, where you can talk to each other, where you can just kind of be in there. And the more space that you have, the more chance you have of having more people in there. So when you want to do things like a book club, when you want to run after school sessions for kind of book day, if you want to do for National Poetry Day, if you want to take your class in there to write some poems, you've got something that you can do. And because of that, because of all of these things, making it more aesthetic, having all those things, putting the computers, we're going to get lots of kind of word of mouth telling how great this is, and that will increase footfall. And that's what I want. I want people to come into the library. I want to make sure that they are coming in, looking at the books, seeing them, picking them up, and actually physically feeling them, and opening the books and reading a couple of lines, seeing if they like it. Which obviously, the more people read, the more they increase their vocabulary. If they increase their vocabulary, they're going to increase their understanding. If they increase their understanding, then GCSEs across all kind of spectrums and all domains are going to be increased. They're going to be better. And this is kind of what we all want. And the library, lots of people don't seem to realise how useful a library can be for increasing GCSE results, and how if you make reading, if you make the library the focus of your school, you are going to have that sense of an increase in all GCSEs, because if you increase their reading, you increase their vocabulary. If you increase their vocabulary, then what the teachers say to them are going to make more sense. Excuse me. If you whatever PowerPoints are on the board will make more sense. Any textbooks or worksheets they're going to have are going to make more sense, because it's increasing your vocabulary. And the more you read, the more knowledge you gain, the more empathy you have. This is why a library is such an important place within a school. And that's why I keep saying, I advocate you must make a library the central point of anything that you are going to do. And so making sure of that, that's what I want to do with my one. And as you can see from what I've said, I've got lots of different specific aspects of it that I want, but each one has been thoroughly researched for what effect it's going to have, how it's going to impact the school, how it's going to impact the students, what value for money it's going to have. Because if you're going to take your dream of this library to your CEO, your head teacher, the person that's in charge of this, you need to make sure that you are fully equipped with all of the information that you think you are going to be required to present to that senior member of staff. Because everything is about impact. Everything is about, because school budgets are so tight, because money is so tight, dishing out, I mean, my library funds for the computers loan is going to be about £3,500. For the software system, it's going to be, for our particular one, it's going to be an £1,800 initial startup cost and about £1,200 per year follow cost as it goes along. And you've got to be able to justify the spending of such sums, especially in a time where money is scarce, as I've said. So make sure you've got that impact there. You've done your research, you've got that stuff in front of you. All right, you know how it's going to affect in both in the short term and the long term, and how it's going to benefit both the school and the students most of all, because that's what we're here as teachers for. That's what we are trying to do, is increase the life chances of the students that we teach. And that's what the library is there for, to increase that, to make them part of something very, very special. So let's get on to then the software. So there were 3 that we were going to pick from, and I'm not going to name them specifically. I'm afraid you're going to have to do your own research on that one. And therefore, what we wanted was one that was going to be able to be seen at home, so that there is a website that they can link to that will come back to the computer system, so that they can book books out, that they can book the computer system if they wish to, that is going to be able to kind of write reviews of the books if they wish to write a review, to be able to auto-generate letters so that we're not losing books, to help us to keep track of the people that are taking books out and not bringing them back, but also to make it really easy for the students to be able to access all of this. and as well as that, we needed to be able to get all of the books that we've got, either to be able for them to spend some time coming in and linking all the books to the system, putting them onto the software system that they are going to have, or we needed to have training so that we knew how to do it, so that we could do it ourselves. And because we have at our school, we have literacy champions and reading champions within form groups, within staff areas as well. We can see if we can get some of those volunteers to help us to kind of get this library up and running by putting all of those books. If they're not going to do it, or if it's too much, the cost is too much, then we can do it. And we needed to make sure that it had, and one of the things is that it had an app, something that the kids can go on their phones, they can download, and they don't have to go on to a computer, because we know lots of children, in terms of maybe pupil premium children, free school meal children, and even ones where they don't have that and both parents are working, but they're still quite hard up. Computers sometimes aren't a thing that everyone has, but everyone has a phone. And so therefore, having that app, making sure that we have a piece of software which kids can use and easily access was one of the things that we desperately wanted. And so therefore, the one that we picked had an app which had very, very easy touchscreen. You could touch the book and then drag it over to the book system, to reserve system, and it would put it into that thing and it would reserve it. There was very few menus, but the menus were very easy to access. So there weren't very many of them. They were very easy to access. Lots of pictures, lots of interactivity in it. And that's what we wanted. The one that we were going to pick, which was absolutely also awesome, much bigger starter cost, about £3,500, but less in terms of yearly kind of cost, was just too kind of texty. There were too many menus, there were too many words, not enough pictures, not enough things to actually see. And that's not what I wanted.
Imagine having your own instructional coach available 24/7. Now you can with the Teaching How-Tos platform. This highly personalised social platform empowers busy teachers to learn and apply evidence-based teaching techniques, either independently, working collaboratively with their peers, or with our new AI assistant. The platform features over 160 visual guides to teaching techniques, designed to help you quickly and easily implement high-impact practices that boost student engagement and improve learning outcomes. Join over 200 institutions worldwide that are elevating their teaching practices with the How-To app. No gurus, just practical support anytime you need it. Interested in finding out more? Visit teachinghowtos.com and register for our next webinar.
Empowering education with Easy4U, where innovation meets accessibility. Our subscription-based offering not only equips schools with cutting-edge devices, but revolutionizes the learning experience by eliminating financial barriers, streamlining support, and embracing technology. We're not just providing tools, we're shaping a future where every student can thrive, unburdened by limitations. Easy4U, transforming education, one device at a time. Find out more at www.easy4u.school.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out! Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading! Hi teachers, we're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculum. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps for good. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org.
And welcome back to the final part of the Late Late Show here on Teachers Talk Radio. So the two that we wanted, the two that were really good ones then. So we had one that we both thought they were really close together. Now, obviously, we had to have three quotes, and we did find another one, and the third one. The information that they sent us to start off with was very small. It was a simple email saying, this is how much it's going to cost. This is where the website is. And we've had a look at it. And it's to be fair, if we were a primary school, I think that would probably be the one that we would take, because it's lots of kind of emoji style pictures, very few menus. But again, the pictures themselves were quite young, and so therefore we kind of dismissed that one quite easily. The other thing that I did was to make sure that I talked to the IT department. So I went to their website, I showed them the website, they sat with me for an hour after school, and they went through some of the things. They had a look at what they were offering and some of the technical things that they said they were offering, just so that they could tell me whether it's what they were saying was what I was seeing there, what they were saying to us in terms of what they were offering was a good thing or a bad thing. Because I know about technology. I'm kind of Gen X. I was there at the beginning, and as we've grown through, so I've grown up with it. But sometimes there are lots of things now that are much more technical that I don't know about. And so they were very, very easy for them to just spot things that, that might not work with our students. This might not work with our students. This means that it's going to be either quicker or slower to upload books onto the system. We haven't got this, so it won't really be compatible with it. So talk to your IT people. When you get those quotes, let them have a look at themselves. What do they think of it? The other thing that I did was I then went on to the website. They gave me a demo version of it, and I got the students to have a look. I got some of my literacy champions, and they spent 5 or 10 minutes of a lunchtime on the computers in the computer room, just having a look at it, seeing which one they liked. And thankfully, they liked the one that we thought would be liked the most by our students. We also managed to have a demo version of the app, so we were able to also kind of download that to let them have a look at what it was. And again, they picked the one that we thought was actually the best one for the kind of the students that we've got. And the good thing was for us is that it's going to be very easy to install. According to our IT people, it's going to be very easy to install. So when I went back to our CEO, it was very easy for me to kind of bring all of these pieces of evidence that I'd got to say, this is why we are choosing this particular one. Yes, it's slightly more expensive in terms of long term because it's more per year. But this is the feedback we got from IT. This is the feedback that I got from the students. This is my feedback as to why we think it's going to work better for our kids. So again, I went in there armed with the things that I was going to do, with the effect that it's going to have, with the evidence that's going to convince your line manager, your senior leader, whoever it is that you're going to try to kind of increase the footfall for your library and to increase the library's status, so to speak. Go armed with everything that you can to make sure that you know how it's going to kind of impact everything. Because what I wanted to do, and the last thing that I did was I had basically a summary of what I wanted the library to be. And for me, I wanted our library to be somewhere that students are proud of. And I wanted a place where parents can come in. We can have open days where, and this is the other thing that I was going to do, would have open days where the students that use the library regularly, the literacy champions as well, can bring and on open day, an open morning, have parents come in, have a look at our library, show them around, get parents of kids that read an awful lot to sit in the library and read with them. Spend that time in the library, have a look at it, make sure it's advertised all the way across all of the school so that kids know when it's open, they know the things that they can do when they're there. They know all of these kind of wonderful things that have been done for it, so that we have one of the best libraries in our county. And that's what I want. I want this to be a place for the students to be proud of, so that they can sit and they can read and they can enjoy reading. And it's a space for books and learning and knowledge and empathy and understanding. It's a place where we can have authors coming in and to sit and talk to kids about their book, which is on our library shelf. And we can get kids to come in and recommend books that we can then put into there. And that is my kind of vision. That's what I want to do. That's being the beating heart of our school. And that's what kind of everyone, I think, especially as a literacy coordinator, should want, is that library to be the central focus of everything reading, of everything that we do in terms of trying to increase our students' understanding, their vocabulary, their thirst for knowledge. And hopefully tonight I've given you kind of an idea, if you are thinking of doing the same thing, of how to go about it. So a quick summary then of what I've said tonight. So our library started off as being somewhere where it's got ancient computers. There are too many places to hide for students, so you can't see them, which we kind of created this kind of safeguarding issue. So basically, the first thing I did was found out all of the things that weren't compatible for the library to be the beating heart of the school. I made sure that I understood the hindrances, the things that were holding it back from being a central point of our school and the reading movement in our school. And then once I did that, I came up with a plan about what I wanted to change. So I wanted to get rid of the computers, and I wanted to replace them with computers that work more quickly. I wanted to get rid of all of the old outdated non-fiction books and replace it with either research for the computers, take away all the seats where you can hide behind them and replace them with tables. So essentially, my second part was to think of a vision. What did I want the library to be? What did I want that part to be? How is it going to impact the school? What can I do to do that? And for me, it was taking away those hiding places, made sure we have more computers, made sure we have lots more table space and open space so that we can actually get people in there, that so people can use those books, people can sit and do some work in there. I wanted it to be a working library, somewhere that people want to come. But I also wanted it to be modern and aesthetic. I wanted it to be a place that can be, that people are proud to kind of go in there and read, proud to bring their parents and have a look around it. I wanted it during open days to be something that we can, advertise really well and say, look at our library. It's this is what's great about it. So have a vision, know what you're going to do. And then obviously once you've done that, find the evidence for it, utilize the students from whatever you're going to do. How do they get their input on it? Find the IT guys if you are going to add library software, if you are going to add computers. Get your evidence, get the experts to help you to build that plan and to build the evidence base that you need to travel forward with the project that you have. Don't have any doubts. Make sure you've got every single thing covered, so you know what you want, you know what the cost's going to be, you know what the impact that's going to have for the cost. Make it so that the senior leader that you're trying to convince or that you're showing your vision to, that the impact is worth the money. And so I'd be really detailed in your research. Make sure you don't cut any corners. If you're having new software, make sure you get students to kind of have a look at it. Make sure your IT guys have a look at it. Make sure any apps are being used by the students before you put in there, so you have student voice. But essentially, everything comes down to impact. Everything comes down to how is it going to be value for money? Because as I said, with the climate we're in at the moment, with the funding that schools are, or lack of funding that we have, it's something that you must do. So in order to make your library the best that it can be, you need to make sure that you put the work in and understand the impact that your changes are going to have. And if you do that, and if you have everything covered, then you will get your projects off the ground. You will do it. Even if you have to, if your CEO says, actually, I can't afford this, you will find a way. I have lots of different things that are going on in terms of income streams that I am trying to do. We're selling off the old books. I'm writing letters to publishing houses to try to get new books. I'm writing letters to MPs. I'm writing letters to other places. I'm doing a sponsored readathon, which is going to give us money. You can find a way. All right. Even if you can't get some of the leadership on board, even if you can only get part of the money, find a way. Because if you can get people involved, if you can get them to understand how important a library is, then you will make it. And hopefully that has helped you to try to figure out your own kind of project. And hopefully I've given you some advice tonight, and you've enjoyed following me on my journey and what I'm going to do to make my library the kind of beating heart of our school. And hopefully it will also give you some kind of a bit of an idea of what you could also do through some of the things and the pitfalls that I've come up against. So that's it for tonight. Hopefully my guest, fingers crossed, in 2 weeks' time is a guest that I've had previously on this show about when I first started. I think it was my first show, which is Alice Visser-Fury. And hopefully she's going to come on to talk about how to do a small group literacy intervention. And fingers crossed, that will be there next week, and I'll put the advertisements out for it. So hopefully I will see you in 2 weeks. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking about my project, because obviously this is something which I am very passionate about. So until next time, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I hope you are looking forward to a fantastic summer holiday. From me, Sean Mackay, on Teachers Talk Radio. See you next time.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.